year of writing for you, Heather, you completed things. So like, does that feel weird to be like, you did Blue Ivy and it's for now completed, and you did Vandals and for now it's completed? And was Frankie before?
That was last year.
Okay.
That was last.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
like,
that was like
December,
June 2021.
Oh,
Was it June 21 or 22?
22, because we're in 23.
Oh, I've lost all track of time. Time has no meaning anymore.
Okay.
I don't even, hell, it's still 2020
But-
in my world.
I know, right? I think anything after COVID is just like, what?
What? Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know what I think?
So like, I guess because you're jumping from Vandals into
22.
Bay Ridge Royals, right? So,
Yeah.
But does it feel weird to be like, okay, I completed these things and I'm happy with them for now? Like, or
I think it's a mixture. When I finished Frankie, that felt like a huge fucking accomplishment when I was done.
Mm.
Also, the last book is basically one giant and they lived happily ever after, you know, and here's everything that goes along on this work in progress. That's the whole book. That whole book is a love letter. Fierce Dancer was very different in writing it because there was so much crap going on. There was so much stuff that I had to make sure I wrapped everything up. And I was on a deadline that I was losing because I was also getting ready to travel. We were in the middle of the move. We had just moved into this house. There was just like, yeah, this year in writing, I can't really say I feel accomplished. I'm like, I survived. Yay! When I tell you that literally wrapping Fierce Dancer and making sure it went live when I was in New Zealand, and then going on to Australia and having to deal with all the stuff, I didn't really get to enjoy it because there was all this other stuff going on. Not that I wasn't having fun with some of it, but there was still a lot of other stuff going on. And then with Blue Ivy Prep, you have to load, like with KDP, you have to load like 3 days before release. So you actually have a deadline, a lockout period. If you don't have your book uploaded by then, you're screwed. And that lockout period is like 5 p.m. on Fridays Central Time. I think it's 3 p.m. on Fridays Pacific Time, the Friday before. So that because it starts going live in Australia, like around the world, it starts going live on Monday. So you've got that 72-hour window where it's got to be locked in. So Party Crashers had to be uploaded and locked in. The Friday I was at Book Bonanza with Tate. So yeah, allow me to state categorically, I had to get it uploaded and locked in before I left to go downstairs to the signing room to make sure everything was set up. And I didn't get a chance to look at it again that rest of that weekend because I was so fried. Which is even, and that's why like there were people who were like, oh, I found a typo. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. But there was a major timing issue that someone found, which thank you very much for finding that. But I still had to make sure I got that fixed before I locked it in. And that was what I spent that morning. I was up at like 4 in the morning, something really early, going through it line by line to make sure I caught it all. And yeah, doing Book Bonanza hot on the heels of having done with Babe, and I was still had jet lag, was not fun. And then you roll all that forward, get all done with that, get back up here, and I'm like, God, I have time to write Money Shot and Battle Lines. This is great because Shamelessly Loyal was done. I had written that for the anthology, so I was like, I will have all this time for Money Shot, and then I got sick. And I had a fever for 10 days. And when I have fevers, I do not write because it comes out really crazy ass stuff. I mean, I do write sometimes. Bodhi is actually the product of a fever dream, but that is neither here nor there. The point is that at the end of the day, I didn't actually really get started writing Money Shot for real until the end of July. It came out at the end of August. That's another one. I wrote it all the way up to the day and edited it up to the day that Friday right before it had to be uploaded. So I didn't really get to enjoy it. And I didn't feel like it was done. Like that portion of the story was done. So I was happy with that. But acknowledging that there was more story that I wanted to tell was like, but they're not done. Battle Lines, again, writing. And then I got, which they actually, the thing is I got sick again. And part of it is because my with all the traveling and everything else, my immune system is not happy with me, and dealing with all the print issues that I've had to deal with, and I am swimming in books at my house right now. And that's fine. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. But when I was working on Battle Lines, so it's like end of August, I'm still working on Money Shot. Finally get it done, get it in. And now I'm like, okay, great. Let's dive in and just go straight into Battle Lines. I already had 2 chapters of Battle Lines written. So I'm thinking, I'm going to write this. I'm going to go boom, 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 and it'll be done. But I got sick. About the sum total of anything that I did was periodically I'd come out and sign books. Vic would line them all up. I would sign them. I actually would come out. I would come out and I would sanitize my hands with hand sanitizer. I'd put gloves on and a mask, sign all the books. And then I go back to my room and take all my shit off and go lay back down in the bed and go to sleep. That's literally what I did for a week. And then after that, I had no resources. It's like I got better, but I had no stamina for anything.
Well, and I think it's good that you're not like pressuring yourself with release dates right now, like with the next in the series.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Why I did that. Because, and you know, I'll be honest with you, I think it's going to actually hurt my sales in the long run. Because
it's not on pre-order.
Well, it is on pre-order, but it's further out, and there are people who
it's a placeholder.
We don't want to wait that long, you know, because we weren't trained to wait a year between books or anything like that, guys.
I understand why people don't read the little blurb when it'll say like this is a placeholder. I'm like, dude, like just scroll down. Like it's usually
I think with authors, there's a trust to an author. So there's some authors like Heather. I trust that Heather will move. I trust that you will move the book up if you are ready to move the book up. There's other authors who always say that it's a placeholder and it ends up not. It ends up being longer or that. It's just the same thing. Like I trust my authors, my favorite authors like you, to get the characters. Like right now, I'm not going to lie, Battle Lines, I am so nervous because I'm like, how are we going to get to this happy found family that you get in an RH? Like, and I'm like, it is Heather. Heather will get us there. I have trust in Heather. You know, but like a new to me author, if I read this book of another author, I'd be like, oh dear. How are we, you know, like,
like oh dear.
They all hate each other.
Yeah. Yes.
I love that they all are in conflict, that they're not like friends. I mean, they are some of them. Well, Adam and Ezra, but yeah.
In some ways it makes the book easier to write, but it's also harder to resolve.
Yeah.
And so like, for example, throwing Bodhi into the mix, that's literally like lighting a stick of dynamite and tossing it in to see what happens. Because
that must be hard.
I was just like, hey, sure, well, let's see what happens. Because Bodhi has no patience for anybody that we know of. I mean, he loves Freddie, clearly, or at least likes Freddie. He likes PPG, which I still think it's hilarious that he calls her PPG.
I saw that in the book. I was like, oh, I love that he's saying that.
He's never gonna say. I actually think he would say it to Milo without missing a beat. Be like, "What's she gonna do about it?"
What the? Oh
but
God!
At the same time, it's like when he walked up to Lainey and PPG in whatever Vandals book it was. I don't remember now. It was either the book 8 or book 9. It was one of them. And he dropped down onto the sofa next to him. He's like, "Hey, Lainey B, how you doing?" I was like, "Why do you know her?" And he's just like,
yes.
Oh, even you said, "Why? How do they know each other?" Oh, they're in the same
I knew
world?
he's in that circle
in the world. Yeah,
but he's also a little bit older than the guys. He's a little bit older than Adam and Ezra.
I don't think I realized that.
I don't think I realized that either, but it feels like he's a little bit older than they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel it.
I mean, I think he's a little. I don't think he's a lot older. I think he's like a year or two ahead of them. But you look at him and I'm like, okay, I know why he's not in the Royals. I guarantee you that if the king came to him and tried to tap him, he'd have been like, yeah, you show up. Feel free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do I look like does it? Yeah. Just the face of someone who gives a shit.
Yeah. He goes into like institutions for, well, purposes, I think. But like my point is,
what did he say? He gets bored sometimes, and so he checks himself in to see what he can see.
Yeah, which is quite brilliant. I really want to know what his motives are and what's behind everything.
Me too. It's like, got to get there. So But no, when
And
he
how-
walked up to Lainey, I'm like, I don't know how that's going to work. And then I love the fact that he kicked the ever-loving shit out of Ezra because Ezra wouldn't shut up.
Right.
Which
And I'm like, what did he say? He's like, Ezra finally got done beating his face on my fists.
Sorry.
Ezra. I just
love
like
Bodhi so much.
is that gonna be Ezra's shtick where he just gets beat up all the time? I feel like that might be his thing where he just is like constantly in a state of being beat up.
Well, so far everybody's punched him but Lainey. So
Lainey kind of needs, maybe she can stab him with a sword.
Yeah, Lainey's too classy to throw a punch. She
needs to like.
I like it when she threw that drink in Milo's face.
Oh my god! She's like, you're not. I love how she like told him, like she
kind
like
of warned
whispered.
him. Yeah.
I
And I
love
love that he went with it. How he was like, I'm gonna go with it. He understood. Like I love
that chemistry of them at that party. Like just to start off with that chemistry there, that was great. That was really great.
Well, and he's figured it out in his own way that she very rarely does anything without a reason. So he didn't know what the hell the reason was, but sure, okay. Yeah. I also had fun with the dynamic that she was constantly dressing him up.
Yeah.
And he was putting up with it. He was doing it. And I was like, this is so different. I love it.
But girls always want to do that. I always want to do that.
Well, I liked it too when, at least from my point of view of watching it, because you always see it from the other way around. It's always the guy who has all the money. He's always spoiling the woman. And you see all of her discomfort around all of the wealth. And we did see some of Milo's discomfort with Marlena, who's telling him, you can sit down and I will bring you your coffee. And he's like, yeah, all right, I'll go sit down. You can bring me my coffee.
Yeah.
I liked her character. I feel like and between Lainey's grandfather and her, I feel like there in a lot of your books you have like an older kind of, especially for these characters that don't have like great parents, like an older figure for them, like whether it's the oh my gosh, why am I blanking on Archie's butler's name? Oh my god, I love him. Jeremy. Oh, sorry, Jeremy. I love you. Whether it's Jeremy or Miss Stephanie, I just feel like there's like a guiding presence in a lot of your story.
I mean, the thing is that even when you don't have a decent family, usually there's somebody, even if it's just a teacher, who is at least someone. Now, whether or not they're going to be your bestest bud and take you out for ice cream or whatever. I mean, and the thing is, I love how many people get Miss Stephanie wrong. I was reading somebody's thread in the spoiler group where they were asking about, like, is Miss Stephanie another woman with Doc? I mean, is that what it's going to? I'm like, I'm not reading. What?
Sorry, my head tilt.
Tell me you haven't really read every part of the book without telling me you haven't read every part of the book.
Someone fell asleep reading and forgot where they left off, or
I don't know, but she was very concerned that Miss Stephanie was going to turn out to be this other woman, and I'm like, no,
I just die.
Somebody missed something.
Yeah, and granted, I didn't advertise the Mickey Stephanie relationship in the beginning. I implied it, I inferred it. There was a couple of times where it got mentioned, but it was just in passing. So but that was how people, because who they are. But like Miss Stephanie, there was someone else who said, well, no, she's the woman who ran the group home that they were in, and she, was their group. I'm like, no, she wasn't. She was the social worker. She didn't run the group home. She was the one who checked on them, and but she constantly had so many cases. So it's always kind of fun for me to see. On the one hand, I feel like I didn't do a well enough job that they have so many ideas of who she's supposed to be or who they think she is. But the other is that she was there as part of their lives, but she also wasn't there all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And
which is true to reality.
Yeah. Whereas Lainey's grandfather is completely different. Lainey's grandfather raised her. He took her away from her mother.
Thank God.
And we get more about that going forward, but that's the thing. He took her from her mother.
I do have this might be spoilery. I really like Lainey's grandfather right now. I love the golfing with Milo, but there's a little that was so great.
I hate golf so much, and I had to write golf into a book.
Golf and you wrote golf. That is too funny. I would have never.
I like how afterwards Milo goes that he mentions how the clothes were actually quite comfortable. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I cannot stand a polo. Polos drive me crazy. And so I was just like, I loved that he was like, it's actually comfortable. I was like, oh, okay.
And he equates
Well, I
it
mean,
to
I'm sure
pool.
his is a high end, really nice fabric, but general polos, they fucking itch, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of golf.
That's so funny. A little part of me is just a little bit scared about Lainey's grandfather. Like, what if he doesn't turn out to be as good as we think? Like, what if I just have this little inkling feeling to be suspicious of the grandfather?
Yeah, but is everybody all good or all bad?
That's true. That very good point.
I'll be honest with you. It's kind of like Eddie. The character I did not think was redeemable in any way, shape, or form.
Who ended up being very, like, you did a great job of redeeming him.
But at the same time, it does not change who he is as a person.
As much as and what he does, yes.
Because let's face it, he paid Milo to kill Mitch.
Which I'm very happy about. But yes, you're right. That's not a good thing. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean,
but yeah, so not everybody is all good or all bad. It just depends on,
especially in this world. I think I'm just like, I think in my skewed way is of Lane, what he wants Lainey to do. I don't know. Well, I guess also too that he's not claiming the Andrea, the sister too, because that made me a little suspicious. I'm like, well, why does he love
she's
Lainey?
A Reed. I can tell you that right now. It's because she's a Reed.
Because she's a Reed.
He hates the Reeds.
So he's never going to support Adam and Lainey. So that's going to be conflict later. He's never going to support that. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, it's because Andrea's a Reed, and
it's because she's a Reed. Okay.
And the flip side to this is that I can also argue the case. Now, I don't know that this is the case because I haven't got all the way there yet, but I could argue also that he took Lainey from her mother. He did not take Andrea. So is it because she didn't allow it or because he didn't want her?
Interesting. And also he has to contend with the Reed being the father. Okay.
Well, then of course, he was so warm and fuzzy with her at the golf club, social club, country club, whatever the fuck the name of that place was.
Yeah,
I hate golf so much, and I was like, I had to go and look up these stupid things, and I'm like, I mean, I'm sure golf is fine for the people who like golf, and actually, one of Jenny's kids plays golf, so if I have any real golf questions, I can go ask there.
That's good.
But honestly, I feel like golf to me is a walk spoiled. So I'm sorry. I like putt golf, and that's about it. So.
I mean, golf is a sport. I used to work at a country club doing events. I was the event coordinator, so I had to interact with them, and it was eye-opening how it was actually some people were amazing and some were awful. And
it can be I've seen it because I mean it is a sport. I accept that it's a sport. It's just like most sports, I don't give two craps about it. I did like Milo's whole thought of he really likes the dress and the skirt because he's like, that was fun for him. I'm just like, okay.
That's such a dude thing. That's such a dude thing to say. But I like the outfit.
Yep. Well, he's like, you do this little thing with your ass with your lining up
I like
shots.
that. Yeah.
But also, she's very competitive.
Yeah.
So
I like that about her.
So we know she plays golf. We know she fences. We know she drives, even though she has a driver half the time.
But in the city, I mean, tennis too. That seems very.
Yep.
And horses, right?
Okay, she does a lot. So it sounds like her grandfather's really setting her up for success, I suppose we'll say.
Well, I mean, he trusted her to go and get that painting.
Yeah, so that's.
I did love Milo. She spent an awful lot of money for a really fugly painting.
Yeah, I love how he's like, Rome could do so much better. Right? Sure you can. Yeah,
well, I do love that fish out of water for Milo. Like even though he kind of like trained for that, I love that perspective of him being a fish out of water in this high society world of crazy.
And you can't really buy him off because he doesn't care.
No. And he's like been through the worst. That he's been there, done that.
Yeah, I just
But,
that. Oh,
the ending. Are we going to talk about the ending?
well, I
'Cause
was
we were
just
both
gonna
like,
say that, Megan. I was like, can we talk about the ending?
I
Because
know,
it
I heard you
killed me.
saying it. I heard you saying it, Sarah. I was coming off of you. I heard it.
It killed me for him to it in your note. I was like, you're true. It could have been worse, but why did we have to do this?
I did like the number of people who said, I can't believe you did that. This is not a challenge. Yes, I accept that this ending could have, if this ending wasn't as bad as it could have been, this is not a challenge. Heather, like, I still hear a challenge, but okay. Challenge accepted.
No, but the way I see
no
it is now
challenge.
he's in and his goal is to take down the king, right?
Yep.
So now he's in, he's going to get a bird's eye view. And so now the king literally just let a snake in. Like,
yeah, but did he?
I don't know. Gosh.
I mean, there's a definite God, I'm gonna channel my inner George Lucas. There's poetry. It rhymes. Adam gave himself up for Emerson to protect Milo's sister. Milo gave himself up to protect Adam's sister and ultimately Lainey's sister.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, there is nothing Milo won't do for his sister. And he knows that Lainey's the same way. It was the one bone of contention from them back in Shamelessly Loyal that she wanted to leave because her sister needed her.
Mm-hmm. It is poetry.
And nobody is, I mean, you know, and King showing up there on his birthday was not a happenstance.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing about that was just, you know, that's why Milo sat there and he thought about all the things. And he knows exactly what King is doing. King is sticking it to him for a decision he made when he was 7 years old.
Yeah. Ugh. Not like
The
at
number of
one
people who are
point,
like,
I
"What
wanted
is-"
Julius King. I wanted King to be redeemed. When we met him in Vandals, I was like, we can redeem him. Somehow we can redeem this villain. And now I don't know if I want that. But we'll see. We'll see where you take us because I'm not, this is too early into the journey. Do you have it all planned, Heather? Do you
have
it planned out?
Okay, this is very true for every series that I ever write. I have major turning points planned. I know where we're going. I have a rough idea of how we're getting there. Okay. But shit changes on its own because stories will go where stories go. That's a large part of the reason why I know a lot of people have asked me, they're like, you know, they get a lot of bi energy off of Ezra. Am I going there? And I'm like, I don't know. We will see. I'm not saying we won't. I'm not saying we are. Because I refuse to pigeonhole characters. I can't.
Yeah.
I didn't write RH for the longest time. I've been editing Tate since Tate, you know, started writing. I edited Rebecca Royce for years. And when I started editing, I mean, I was editing Rebecca before she started writing RH. I learned about RH through Rebecca, even though I'd written MFM and stuff before. I was like, what the hell is RH? And then she told me, I'm like, that's basically MFM. And she goes, yes and no. And then she, you know, but, and it's evolved. And it's gotten, and people are like, oh, well, it's just poly. No, it's not. RH is different from poly. So either way, but, you know, I didn't just start writing. And when RH started taking off and people were making money hand over fist, if I was an author who could write, who could just go, hey, look, everybody's making money doing that. Let me write that too. I could have, I guess. But I couldn't write it because I didn't have a story for it.
It would have been disingenuous.
I need it, and I have never been a person who can say, okay, well, witches are hot, so I'm going to write witches now, and fae are hot, so I'm going to write fae now, and gangs are hot, I'm going to write gangs now. If I don't have a story,
you lucked out with gangs, though. I feel like you did gangs at the right time.
And I was lucky because at the time I had already come up with the idea that I was going to be doing Emerson's story, and I didn't realize how much of it would be established in Braxton Harbor and would stay there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, some of my early ideas for this, it would have left Braxton Harbor. It would have gone back into, touched more in the world of the royals that are in and stuff, but it didn't. Then they didn't go there.
Okay.
So sometimes stories, they have to breathe. They have to do what they're going to do because my characters are a bunch of stubborn little shitheads who are going to do what they're going to do. And sometimes I can say, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, no, it's not. Okay. like I don't remember which series it is at this point anymore. There was a series I was writing. I had a major turning point. It was going to be this huge deal. It happened in the 4th chapter, and I was like, well, shit. Now what? And where the story ended up going was a much better place than what I had originally envisioned. So I maintain, and I always have, that my subconscious is a hell of a lot smarter than my conscious mind. And I give it all the pieces and I let it play out.
So you go where the story takes you.
And I go where the story takes me. And again, a lot of time, and I can have guideposts along the way.
Yeah.
But, or even what I used to call my GPS. I'd be like, okay, I'm going from here to here. This is my GPS for the best route. But you know how GPS will sometimes do little side quests and stuff? Sometimes that happens and you end up in a better place.
Yeah.
Conversely, I have tried to map out a book and do the whole outline and the full plot and everything else. And when I'm done, I never write the book because I know everything that's going to happen and who cares.
Okay.
So it's not interesting to you anymore? Is it kind of like, it's kind of like you already wrote it? So like, what's the point?
Yep.
So as an author, you need to be like writing it because you're in it, you're getting into it. You're telling the story for yourself. Like it seems like.
This is a lot of why most of the time when I'm writing series, I have the cover done already. So it's so I have to have the cover, so I have that image. I write the blurb, so it interests me to write it, and I have to have a title. And I used to always say it so that I can create the space on my mental bookshelf for where that book is going to go. But it's true. For me, when I go to pick up a book to read, I need all of those things to intrigue me. So I still need to be intrigued by the story. Now, and I can always say, that's another reason why a lot of times, and you've heard me say this, Megan, I know you have, if it happens on the page the way it happening in my head, it's going to go like this. But it doesn't always hit the page that way. And I have learned to accept it because I get better books out of it in the long run. And so I have an idea of some things. I don't have an idea of everything. And there's always an X factor. And for example, Bodhi is a huge X factor. When he showed up in Vandals, I was not planning for him to be there. But he just sort of strolled in and was like, hey, how you doing? Want to hang out for a bit?
Yes, I was reminiscing on meeting Bodhi and Freddie meeting him and just this is how I'm gonna kill you. This is how I'm gonna kill you. And I remember Freddie just being like, asking him how he was gonna kill him, and he's like, he wasn't ready to answer. I loved.
He's like, but I like you, so I don't really want to kill you.
Yeah, I loved that. I was like, right there, friends for life.
It sounds similar to how Freddie walked in and kicked your door down. It sounds like Bodhi did the same thing.
Well, and Freddie was originally supposed to be in Vandals. He was originally supposed to be in the harem, but the harem was only supposed to be 6. And then Doc decided Doc was going to be in the harem. And I was like, okay, but I didn't really have a feeling for Freddie yet. Freddie was just mostly fucking Freddie on the page. And I was like, okay, so we'll just, and I said, that would be, because I knew he had a fairly dark history. I knew he had a dark past. I knew he had a lot of tragedy. And if he went out saving Emerson, I mean, it's a hero's death. Yes, I know it's, heartbreaking. And the fact that I even suggested makes people want to gut me. I understand this. But in my head, it was a great story.
It would be. I agree with that, though.
It would be a horrible tragedy, but it would be a great story.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, and I vividly remember telling every single one of my beta readers, do not get attached. And did any of them listen? You didn't say that. You can't kill him. I'm like,
they all convinced you. They all brainwashed you into it.
Yeah, well, Steph gets stuck with hot dogs, and I'm going to say that's her fault too.
Forever the hot dogs.
So, back to the writing. I remember our conversation with you and Blake and co-writing and how it works. Are you planning? Because I know sometimes you do more than one series at a time. And right now I only know Battle Lines. Do you have another series or another co-write?
At the moment, I'm only releasing linear for the moment.
Okay.
So it will only be Bay Ridge Royals coming out. That doesn't mean it's the only thing I'm writing, though.
Interesting.
I need the breaks in between, I'll be honest with you. Doing back-to-back books. I mean, I am actually writing Deceptive Truths. I took 2 days off and I started on it. already
Mhm.
5 chapters into the book. I mean, I've been writing a chapter every day,
Mhm.
and largely pushing the release date out so that I can bring it back in when the book is done. And that's why I said I think I said it during my live, that the day I finish the book and I do the whole, this is what the title of the next book is going to be, and I'm
I love
sending it
that.
off to my editor, I will bring
Mhm.
it up probably to 4 weeks out from that
Okay.
day, give or
From the
take.
4
I
weeks
mean,
from the day you finish it.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it'll probably be in that. I mean, it could, like, if I finish on a Friday, I don't know if it'll be, the very next Tuesday that would be the 4 weeks out, or the following Tuesday. I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there, but it'll basically be 4 weeks out. That gives me 4 weeks to do all the edits, and to not have my editors want to kill me because I'm sending them a book that I expect them to edit in 24 hours, and that we're editing in chunks and going back and forth with, because bless both of those women, they have done it. But it is an incredibly unreasonable amount of pressure to put on a person. And having
Yeah.
been that editor who's had to do the
Mhm.
same thing, it is an incredibly unreasonable amount of pressure to put on a person. And frankly, I want the break. I want to not feel like I have to have, I'm honest, those
Mhm.
editing right up until the moment I have to upload it and the lockout, it's going to burn me out.
Good. So, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
and you were
Anything else on your
releasing
plate?
like every month. It was like a crazy release schedule.
Mhm.
And I mean, and honestly, I write like that. I think like that. My brain. That's why I was trying to tell people. I know that it looks like it's a long time away, but I typically release every 3 months.
Yeah, you do.
With
Yeah,
a series.
seems like,
Sometimes
Well,
if
you
I'm
just can't turn it off. I know you. Like, I've gotten to know your writing style. I'm like, you are not going to be able to pause this series. It's going to keep going. You're not going to leave us hanging.
To be fair, if I take a significant writing break, it will take me so much longer to get back to it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why I do 20-minute sprints, especially when I have a
Right.
lot on my plate, because I literally will sit there and I'll be like, set a timer on my watch for 20 minutes. I write for 20 minutes, my timer goes off, I pause, I get up, I go do whatever, laundry, sign books, move books, do things, walk around, do things. That's 10 minutes, usually 10 minutes, 15 minutes, come back to another 20-minute sprint. And sometimes I might only get a 20-minute sprint to write per hour. But I can still accomplish a lot more in that 20 minutes because I'm very much in that 20 minutes, my brain is only on the book.
Okay.
And usually it works really well. There are times when it doesn't. There are times when I'm like, I don't want to be working on this story anymore. I'm tired. I want to go write something else now.
And then you secretly write a little something else.
Yes, exactly. And I have other
Which is
stories.
good.
I mean, it's just like I messaged Elizabeth the other morning. I'm like, and I literally did say, hey, I had an idea. Just go with me. She's like, oh my God, shut up. She goes, I know where you're guys like, no, it's really good. And she's like, no.
Here's the part. You need to not don't tell them. Just don't tell them. That's the key. Just do it without
I only
telling
tell them
anybody.
a few of them. I don't tell them all of them. I don't tell them all of them.
So
no,
this
and
is good. Super random, because you said it's how much you write. So you must have really good typing skills.
Yes.
Like insanely, because I am one of those where like I'm typing, I'm like the typos galore are awful because I'm getting the wrong keys and stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna keep going, and then I'm like back, and it's like, correcting this.
Before my first spinal surgery, I typed about 165 words per minute with 2 errors. With 2 errors.
Wow.
After my spinal surgeries, when I got back to writing, I was typing about 60 words per minute with 18 errors. It was awful, and I had to relearn to do it again. Now I think I type somewhere around 130 per minute ish. And I don't actually know what my errors are anymore. I think I stopped caring. Yeah. There's so much autocorrect will catch. Although I freely admit there are some typos that are not typos that show up because autocorrect will catch some things and I didn't catch it, or my brain puts the correct word there and I didn't with my fingers. Like there was a typo in Battle Lines where it's referring to the tip of his, at her lips, and it says list.
No, I missed that.
Fortunately, it was only in the arcs because it did get caught by my editor. So my editor caught it, and I did fix it before it went into the live version. But I laughed myself a little stupid on that one because that's not a typo you're going to catch on a scan.
Right.
So, and I have a tendency
so
to, when I write, I don't reread. I try not to edit as I go. Some of it I can't help. And if I see that I'm echoing a word, I immediately backspace and take it out and go. And part of that is because I edited for so long. So I do auto edit to a certain extent. But when I finish a chapter, I drop it in my doc or whatever. And if I'm going to go on and write another chapter, I go on and write another chapter. If I'm done for the day, I'm done for the day, whatever. But I don't look at that chapter again until the next day.
Yeah.
I give myself at least 24 hours because you see more errors if you're not looking at it right away.
Gosh, Heather, you've lived so many lives.
Yeah, that's why I write. I like all my lives.
Yeah.
We like all your lives too. So we read.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't know. We've been on here forever. I am sorry. I did not mean to take so long.
We all,
okay.
Don't we always though? Don't we always
do? But thank you
thank you for chatting with us.
You are welcome. You're gonna have so much fun with this edit.
I am. I thought that a few minutes ago. I was like, this is gonna take some time.
You're a super trooper, Sarah. I love you.
You know, the funny part was I was gonna ask when I got on and then we didn't. We just went for it. It was like, what were we gonna talk about again?
Oh yeah. Well, battle lines. We
battle lines, the end of Vandals. We covered it.
Yeah. OIV prep.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Happy Brightman signing. Bye.
Bye.